Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm doing a Madolche deck profile. So I'm really excited for this one because this is actually not my deck. This is actually my fiance Savannah's deck. And she actually asked me to profile it on the channel because she said, you never do Madolches. And so I said, man, you know what? You're right. I haven't done Madolches, and a lot of you guys have been requesting this one, so I borrowed the deck from her, and I'm going to be profiling it for you guys. And I actually have played the deck when we duel sometimes, and I have played it on Yugioh Pro to kind of figure out the deck and know how it plays. But I really think that this deck is going to be a really fun, contending at least Tier 2 deck in the upcoming format as soon as we get its new trap card. So, without further ado, guys, let's get straight on this. But before we do, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description because we have some really cool rewards for you guys, like getting a signed card sent to you by myself, getting your name in the description of every single video, or even getting a deck profile of your choice every single month that you are a patron. So let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Madolche Mageline. You've got to play Mageline at 3. She just got reprinted, and her effect is that when this card, all the Madolches just about have this effect, that when this card you control is destroyed by your opponent's card effect or by battle, and sent to the graveyard, you can shuffle this card into your deck. Because a lot of your Madolches revolve around not having monsters in the graveyard, which is really pivotal to this deck. And then it also has the ability that when this card is normal or flip summoned, you can add a Madolche monster from your deck to your hand. So she's basically the searcher. You have to play her at 3. It is essential that you play her at 3. Then we play 3 copies of the Petting Sister, I think is how you say it. But I played 3 copies of her. I probably butchered that. But her effect is that if this card in your possession is destroyed by, she shares the ability of being destroyed by battle or by card effect. And then she also has the effect of, if you have no monsters in your graveyard, you can special summon it from your hand. And if this card is special summon, you can special summon a Madolche monster from your hand or deck. And then if you do, reduce its level by 1. And also, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn, except for Madolches. So what you always special summon with her is Pudding Sis, and then reduce her level by 1. To be able to go into a rank 4 XYZ, which is really important. Then we play 3 copies of Angeli. Angeli is a really cool card because if this card is destroyed by battle by card effect, she shuffles into your deck. And then she also has the ability that you can tribute her to special summon a Madolche monster from your deck. But you shuffle this card, shuffle it into the deck during the end phase of your next turn. And you can only use her effect once per turn, and that monster cannot be destroyed by battle as well, which is really cool to be able to special summon something. I believe she's probably the most expensive card in the entire deck now because she hasn't had a reprint, but I think she's going to get a reprint very soon. I think it's going to be in the Battles of Legend, the next Battles of Legend. She's probably going to get a reprint. Then we play 3 copies of Hoot Cake. Hoot Cake is a really good card in here because what Hoot Cake does is that when this card, it also has the ability that you can target a monster in your graveyard and banish it, and if you do, you get special Madolche monster from your deck. So that's why you play this card at 3, is because you really want to get into your Madolches in the deck, and so you banish one and then special summon it from the deck, which is really cool. We play 2 copies of Messengelato. Messengelato is a nice card in here because basically what he does is that if he's special summoned, you get to add Madolche spell or trap from your deck to your hand, but you must control a face-up beast type Madolche monster to activate and resolve this effect, which we have that covered, is either Hoot Cake, which you special summon this card off the Hoot Cake, but I also play a one-of card in here, which is my one-of copy of the Meow, because what this card does is Madolche is when it's normal summoned, you get to special summon a Madolche monster from your hand, which is really cool. I like that ability because it kind of helps me unbrick with the copy of my Messengelato if I need it. Then I also play the single copy of Pudding Sis, which is my last monster. She doesn't play any hand traps in here because she says that it always clogs up in the deck by getting them in the graveyard, and then you can't resolve this card, which is very, very pivotal and is extremely important to the deck. And I've noticed that too when I was playing. But Pudding Sis is kind of like the main one that you really want to play in the deck, and she has the ability that when you have no monsters in your graveyard, this card gains 800 attack and defense, and after damage calculation, when this card battles an opponent's monster, you can target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. But the real reason you play her is to summon Princess Chocolate a la mode. That's the real reason you play her as a 3-of, or as a 1-of, just so you can go into Chocolate a la mode and get the additional effects off of her. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Call by the Grave, 3 copies of Call by the Grave just helps you get rid of those hand traps and stuff like that, and you don't have to deal with them. 3 copies of Twin Twister just so you can hit those back row cards. You really, really need the Twin Twister because you don't want to deal with your opponent's stuff, and it just really helps out. 3 copies of Forbidden Chalice as well. The Chalice comes in really clutch because you can set this card, your opponent doesn't realize what it is, and you can hit them with the Chalice, and they're just like, wait a minute, what happened? It's kind of surprise tech that she plays in here. She really likes the Forbidden cards, and so she played 3 Chalice over like 3 Impermanents, and it's a good budget option instead of the 3 Impermanents. But if you want to play 3 Impermanents in this place, you can. But this card kind of catches your opponent off guard, and that's why she played it to the 3 of. And she was always going second, or she's always going first in this deck anyways, because she plays so many traps. So it's really pivotal to go into that card. Then we play 2 copies of Madolche Ticket. The Madolche tickets are when a Madolche monster is returned from your side of the field or graveyard to your hand or main deck. By a card effect, you can add a Madolche monster from your deck to your hand. And if you control a face-up fairy-type Madolche monster, you can special summon the monster from your deck and face-up attack position instead of adding it to your hand, which is really cool, and I really like that ability too. We do play quite a few fairy ones in this deck because you have everything from your copy of the Little Princess, that I just call her Little Princess, 1 copy of the Angeline, or Angeli. The Angeli is a fairy, and also your Pudding Sis is a fairy, and a lot of your XYZ monsters are fairies too, so this card's really, really live as a 2 of. Then we play 2 copies of Chateau. Chateau is really neat because it makes... when a Madolche monster, when this card is activated, you shuffle all Madolche monsters in your graveyard into your deck, and then all Madolche monsters gain 500 attack and defense, and if a monster is in your graveyard would be returned to the deck, you can add it to your hand instead. So you're just getting pluses off of having the ticket and the Chateau on the field, which is really, really important to have both of them on the field, so you can be adding one from deck, or special, every time one gets destroyed, you special summon one from deck and add the one that you were going to shuffle into the deck to your hand, so you're kind of just like rolling 2 and getting a +1 every time they get destroyed, which is kind of cool, and I really like that ability. So that's it for the spells. Let's get into the traps. So she plays quite a few traps in this deck, which is 2 copies of Madolche Knight. Now this card really catches your opponent off guard, and it's a really good card, and she catches me off guard with this card all the time. That when a monster effect is activated, if you have no monsters in your graveyard, now keep in mind, this is a going first deck, so you play this at 3 or at 2, and you set 1 on your turn and negate the monster effect. And then if you control a Pudding Sis, which you're probably going to control Pudding Sis or the Chocolate a la Mode Pudding Sis, then you could just shuffle a random card from your opponent's hand into the deck, so they start at 5 instead of 6. Especially when they activate a monster effect, and it can really hurt their hand, because if they normal summon like a Searcher, like let's say you're playing against heroes, they normal summon the Stratos, you negate the Stratos, they go -1 because they didn't get the Stratos effect off, and then you shuffle a random card out of their hand, so they're down to 4 cards now, and they can't negate it with something like a copy of, what's it called? They can't negate it with Call by the Grave, because this is a counter trap. So this card's really good in the deck. Then she plays 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. The Solemn Judgments are another really good card that you can set up for if you're playing going second. And then 3 copies of Solemn Strike as well. The Solemn Strikes really help you out because if you don't have this, you're going to stop your opponent from doing stuff. And that's basically what this deck is about, is getting your advantage and stopping your opponent. It's more about the grind game and just stopping your opponent and then making the Chocolate a la Mode and attacking your opponent until you win. And then she main decks. I know, main decks 3 copies of Evenly Matched, which is absolutely crazy to me. This card is crazy good in this deck, and it's really good because if your opponent establishes a field and forces you to go first, then you can just pass, or if you just feel like you need to pass, you can just pass, let them make their board, they can go into battle phase, and then you just drop this at the end of the battle phase, and then you win. Essentially, because they're going to lose so much advantage. But it's a really good card to be able to make, because if your opponent controls more cards than you do, you can make your opponent banish cards from the field up to the number of cards that you control. So, like, for instance, if I activate Evenly Matched at the end of the battle phase, then they're pretty much going to have 1 card left. And this card can be really, really good in the deck, and that's why she plays this card as a 3 of. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're playing 3 copies of Madolche Pudding Sis Chocolate a la Mode. So Chocolate a la Mode at 3 is really good because she has the ability that you can XYZ summon this card by using a rank 4 or lower XYZ monster, Madolche XYZ monster you control, and then you transfer the materials to this card. And then she also has the ability that once per turn you can target a Madolche monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and then when this card has XYZ has a Madolche Pudding Sis as a material, when a Madolche card is in your graveyard is shuffled into your main deck, you can detach a material from this card to special summon a Madolche monster from your deck in face of attack or face down defense. She really helps out with the Swarm ability, and that's a really good card. Then we play 2 copies of Queen Tiramisu. Queen Tiramisu is really good because she lets you detach a material from her and then target 2 Madolche monsters in your graveyard, or 2 Madolche cards in your graveyard, shuffle those into the deck, and then after you do, you get to shuffle 2 cards. You get to shuffle cards your opponent controls up to the number of Madolche cards that were returned to your deck, which is really good. 3 copies of Madolche Teacher Glass. I just call her Glass because she's, that's in the beginning of the name. But you get to, quick effect, you get to detach a material from this card and then target a Madolche monster on the field. And this turn, that face-up monster is unaffected by other monster effects except its own. And if a Madolche card is sent to the graveyard while this card's on the field, you can shuffle 2 cards from your graveyard into your deck. As well, which is really cool to just keep managing your resources. This card is the card that she summons all the time in the deck because you just get to manage your resources so much. But if I establish a field, she makes this and shuffles cards off my field into the deck, which is just great for me. Then we play 2 copies of Madolche's sister, Fresh Tart, or Fresh Sis Tart. This card's really good too because when this card points to a Madolche monster, Madolche spell and traps you control can't be destroyed by card effects, and also neither player can target them with card effects. And if this card on the field would be destroyed by a battle or by card effect, you can shuffle Madolche monster from your graveyard into your deck instead, which is really good. You play it at 2 because you want to protect Chateau and your copy of Ticket. 1 copy of Boral Sword just to OTK your opponent because it's really fun to make all these pastries and then attack them with a big mean dragon. 1 copy of your Digesto, or not Digesto, but Nightmare Phoenix. I'm thinking of the wrong Phoenix because you need to pop spells and traps. Tornado Dragon also to pop spells and traps just in case you want to go for the XYZ instead. Abyss Dweller because you really, really want to deal with graveyard heavy decks, and that's why you play the Abyss Dweller. And then 1 copy of number 60 because you can double the attack of a monster, draw 2, discard 1, or even you get to special summon a monster from your graveyard in defense position, which is really good. She doesn't make all of these all that much, but she does make Boral Sword sometimes to OTK. But that's only if she knows she can OTK, she makes Boral Sword. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a really fun deck to play around with. It's getting more and more budget, which I think in the next coming couple of sets, I think in the next set, the Battles of Legend, the deck is going to be a little bit more budget. It's not super budget right now with the text I'm playing in here, but it's not as bad as it was because these were like 25 and these were like 50 a piece. So this deck has dropped in price dramatically, and you don't have to play the evenly matches if you don't want to. You can play something else in the deck that you might help you out just a little bit differently, but they are really good cards if you have them. Maybe you can play, I wouldn't play Phantasme, but you might be able to play something else in the deck that you might want if you want to go more budget. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad. Definitely tell me what you think of this video down in the comments down below. And also check out the Patreon down in the description below because we have some really cool rewards for you guys. And I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.